Hello, humans! Welcome to Audioface, an irreverent podcast about the music news and music culture that mostly matters. I'm Dan.
I am Sean.
This is episode 283 of this stream deckless bastard that I am really feeling right now. Like, you don't understand how rapidly my mouse is clicking around to different things to make sure OBS is working, but we out here for all the dogs. And we've got, because of that, we're gonna spend... We got to put our foot in the Drake review, all right? We got to really, really get into this for what it is for all the dogs, because this is the podcast, Fine Established Podcast. Check us out. I'm doing the plugs early this time, so we can just, duck out. In the words of MF Doom, which Drake tries to channel at some points, we plot shows like robberies, in and out, 1, 2, 3, nobody's pleased. All right, so that's going to be the thing. We're going to do the plugs right now, so you can check us out at audioface.show. That's the website where you can find all of the things that we're doing. YouTube.com/audiofacepod is everything on YouTube. Twitch.tv/danfromtheweb is my personal Twitch channel, which I stream Audioface from, as well as Power Report, as well as a number of the different things. How am I going to do Power Report next? Oh, wait, I'm still here. That's fine. That's all good in my head. Anyways.
It's Dan problems.
Yes, just Dan things. We have Drake's for all the dogs, as you see in the title, as you see in everything. Of course, we're going to talk about that. We also have a startlingly, remarkably tragic Sufjan Stevens record, which we'll be digging into as well afterwards. But it's Drizzy season. It's Drake. Drake is here. McRib is back. And we are going to be digging into that momentarily. I have the album up. I just need to do some not having a stream deck things. Cool, that button at least still works. I have one button that still works on it, so that's doing it.
All right.
Okay. Anywho's, we got man. We have, boy, you're gonna like this. Today we have Drake's For All the Dogs, 23 songs long, an hour and 24 minutes long. What's better than 23, Sean? 24.
24.
Yeah, Sean and I have listened to Drake's For All the Dogs record, his 2023 release, so you don't have to. Drake needs no introduction, as he introduces for himself. He is, at time of recording, one song away from beating Michael Jackson's record of most #1 records on, Billboard, I guess, like how that's going. And, he out here. Like, the last time we reviewed a lot of Drake was, of course, last year. It was a double release last year. We got
Her
honestly,
Loss.
yes, Honestly Nevermind came first, and then Her Loss. Honestly Nevermind was in early summer 2022. Her Loss was in the autumn, right around now. Usually we get a Drake release around every year in the late summer, and last year's Drake release was really interesting because Honestly Nevermind was let me be charitable for the beginning. It was experimental. It was Drake trying to do a couple of different things with his sound. Some folks called it Jersey Club. Other folks called it hot garbage, as we did here. And it was something that Drake felt really confident about, and something that Drake felt like, hey, listen, wait a couple years, let it marinate, and people are going to really love this record. Well, times change, values don't, and maybe we'll like that record in the future. I don't think so. Maybe it'll prove to be transformative for the music world. I also don't think so. But he released Her Loss after that as kind of, by the way, I'm still McDrizzle over here. Like, he tried to, assert himself as, okay, I'm going to make a proper rap R&B sounding Drake Aubrey Graham-ass record where I'm going to try to sound, established what I am. You get to For All the Dogs, and so you wonder, is Drake going to continue to go experimental and do his, Walmart Great Value brand Kirkland-ass version of Beyonce type thing with this? Or is he going to try something that is a little bit more tried and true and different? And we heard we didn't do this on Audioface, but this came out just before the release of this. But we heard 8 a.m. in Charlotte, which was a video track that sounded like it was throwing back to old school rap. And so, Drake's keeping us guessing, as he likes to try to do. he gets to this record, we release this record, and Drake rollouts have been terrible. Drake rollouts are usually bad, but this one seems particularly terrible. I believe Charlemagne the God said something along the lines of last week, SZA and Drake released a single together and nobody cared, on some straight Audioface shit. Like, that is, like, talking about singles that no one cares about and saying, and nobody cared, is an Audioface circa 2017 shit. So, Charlemagne the God, we see you, we hear you. Fuck your family. And we come to For All the Dogs, and we see, Drake is trying to go back to basics. He's trying to go back to his roots. He's playing it a little bit safe with a production, but so safe that I did some things during listening to this album that I don't think I've ever done with any other album on Audioface before. I think that's a great tease for me, and I've talked a lot already, so I want to hear your like initial thoughts as we dive into this record as well, Sean.
Yeah, I was just so coming off of Her Loss last year, which is a collaborative record, mind you, of Drake and 21 Savage, Britain's finest 21 Savage, Britain Atlanta's own 21.
Recently
and like
green
their whole
carded 21 Savage.
recently green free 21 right there, just like Free Palestine on the dead homies.
Absolutely free Palestine podcast.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah. And with like
Don't
their
at
tour,
me at Michael Brooks. All right.
I mean,
I stand by it.
TMBS baby. With Her Loss and kind of like the tour with Drake and 21, except apparently 21 isn't allowed in the free state of Canada.
No, he got his green card, so he's allowed now. But
now he is. Oh yeah,
yes. Literally, like this is a couple weeks information. So you're right, but he is now supposedly allowed in Canada. Me, that'll be interesting. But anyways,
and with it, it's like it was a very successful tour. I ended up actually liking Her Loss a bit, where I think some of the songs with them were pretty good. I think like Drake and 21 together, like they sound really well a lot of the times. But with For All the Dogs, Drake reverted back to his tried and true sound of, trap and B, and, trying to emulate some old school rappers that he's influenced by and everything. And with what you get is a really mess of a record where it's not very cohesive. It's not anything that's going to blow your socks off. And the big thing with this is I don't even feel like there's really any hits, because like with Her Loss, right? Like major distribution, you could go Rich Flex on BS. So exactly, like Circo Loco, right? Like there's a lot of tracks from Her Loss where it's like
Keyword and Millions,
like
3 a.m. on Glenwood, Spin About You, like Treacherous Twins, bangers on bangers on bangers. Yeah, absolutely.
Bangers. And before All the Dogs, like you get to the third track, Calling For You with 21, and that might be one of the worst Drake songs I've ever heard, because it just, the production on it feels cheap. Everything, like the lyrics feel cheap, and it does this horrible little stupid interlude in the middle, and then it just drags it out, keeps going for like a minute and a half, and you get really uncomfortable. And then 21 finally comes in, and he only gets a minute.
Yeah. It's
and I'm like, really?
It's like if Kendrick Lamar did that one song he did on Mr. Morale. That's like an argument between two lovers.
Yeah.
I'm getting it up right now, but it's like if he did that song, We Cry Together.
I think We Cry Together.
Yeah. If he did We Cry Together, and then Baby Keem was on the last 30 seconds of that song, it's like,
and that was BB Keem's entire part of the record.
Yeah, and like that's his only part in the entire album. It's like, yo, you are emptying the clip at the wrong time. Like your homie's already on the floor, and now now you're reaching for the toolie. Like you are, it's too little, too late in that sense. And yeah, like I saw you know me, like I tried very hard to make sure that tweets and other reviews before we do our podcast. I try to protect the sanctity of the podcast, so to speak, right? I try not to care about those reviews or even pay them no never mind. I try not to pay attention. But someone said that 21 Savage sounds tired of Drake in that song. And I'm like, that has stuck with me because I am more tired of Drake than apparently 21 might be. Because, like, it is. I really want you to understand here is that I don't like Drake albums. We don't like Drake albums. We have reviewed, I mean,
A lot.
since 2017 of this podcast. So we've reviewed at least 6. Honestly, no, 8. Like Drake albums. At least 8 Drake albums, right? We've gone through all them hoes. And we have hated most of them. But we've also been able to accept, like, listen, Drake is the French vanilla of rap music. Like, you're gonna like some flavors sometimes. Like, one point you're gonna be in the mood for something of it. And so, like, that's fine. Drake, hitmaker style, not really that creative, sure, right? You take Drake as you can get him in that way. And I was prepared to be like, okay, maybe if Drake does a quote-unquote return to form to be as more, I don't know. I was trying to look back at his old albums. I'm like, Certified Lover Boy was trash. Dark Lane Demos was trash.
See, you have to go
Scorpion
all the way
was
down to
trash.
like.
Maybe
Yeah,
More Life. More
I
Life.
say more-
More Life was a honestly.
Honestly, I think Scorpion was okay. There's like Scorpion has some certified bangers in there.
Yeah, Scorpion was okay.
Nonstop, God's Plan, I'm
Absolutely.
Upset, Mob Ties.
More Life, what I was trying to say is that even though that's like the fake Jamaican Drake era,
Oh, for sure.
I like More Life as an experimental moment for Drake much more than I like Honestly Nevermind. I think like that was way more like better executed. But what I'm trying to say is that like, and to get to my tease from the beginning, that the thing I did with this album that I've never done with any album in the hundreds, can you believe that? Hundreds of albums we have reviewed on this podcast and listened to the entire time. This is the first time I did this with an album. And so there's my tease. I'm going to mention it in like 30 seconds, but I just got to like finish my earlier point earlier is that like, I tried to go back and think like, I was ready for a return to form of Drake from maybe like, if you're reading this, it's too late, or Views, or yeah, even More Life, although I wasn't expecting it to be as, you know, Jamaican, experimental, different, clubby maybe as More Life might have been. I was expecting something that was like a pure rap record, like Her Loss was trying to do.
Yeah.
And somehow, this just became like a boring, bland, drab mess to the point where, and here's the thing, never have I done this with an Audioface podcast. I have pretty bad ADHD, right? Like, I just get distracted by different things and I like focus on different things a lot. And so like, I put that in the back of my head with all the things, right? So like, I get distracted very easily. I kept pausing this Drake record and just doing other shit. And then I would come back 15 minutes later and I'd be like, oh, I was supposed to be listening to this. Let me unpause it. No, it wasn't still going. Let me unpause it and let me continue listening to this record. And then like subconsciously, I would pause it again. And so then 20 minutes later, I'd be like, wait, I should be through this Drake record because I'm kind of on a schedule. I have to listen to it between New Music Friday and Sunday evening when we record Audioface. I'm like, I'm on a schedule. I need to listen to this thing. But I keep realizing, and I told you about this in my second listen. I was texting you, Sean, and I was like, oh no, I keep pausing this record subconsciously. I told you about the first like 3 times I did it. I did it 4 more times after I talked to you on my second listen. Not to even mention my first listen. All right. So like, I say all that to say in a stereotypical Dan long-winded way is that Drake did something special on For All the Dogs. He made something uniquely ass. Like, he made something like uniquely dog shit. Like, this is, I can say it. Oh, I can easily say this. This is the worst Drake record I've ever heard. Honestly, never mind, I put up for this. I would put, like, compared to this, I'm a downright fan of Nothing Was the Same. If you're reading this, Views, What a Time to Be Alive. That's great, honestly. What a Time to Be Alive.
Those are great. So no, That's Time to Be Alive.
Yeah,
Certified banger.
Unironically, that's a banger. Again, Future carried a lot of that weight there. But Certified, like, I don't know, maybe Certified Lover Boy's worse than this? But this is really bad. Like,
my thing with the record is it does my least favorite thing right now, which is the trend, which is to do 2 songs in one, and it does that for like a majority of this record. Example, Calling for You 21,
yes.
First person shooter, I don't give a fuck with ye. Slime with you, you got all the
Jermaine,
parties.
sorry, really fast. Jermaine Cole.
Sorry.
Jermaine Cole. It was on First person shooter with Drake. Like that's a legendary, right? Like there's this thing, more on this in a moment, but there's this thing that Joe Budden was saying that like there was a time where Drake used to rap for rappers. Like there's a famous quote about Mos Def describing MF Doom, and he was saying like, no, MF Doom is like a rapper's rapper. Like if you appreciate the game and the spirit of hip hop, you will appreciate MF Doom, as Mos Def is saying, right? There was I don't really remember this time totally. Maybe it was mixtape Drake era, where like Drake was, it's like, oh shit, the Degrassi kids popping it up with J. Cole. Like, I wish I could have thought of that right now. This is a momentous moment for 21st century rap music. For Drake and J. Cole to get together, that's like Biggie and Tupac on a song minus all the beef and minus all the gun violence, because let's be real, Drake
all the drive-bys.
Let's be real. Neither Drake or J. Cole got that smoke. All right, and in fact, when they're both trying to rap all hard on that song,
it makes me laugh.
I can't take it seriously. Like
No.
I literally, it's like it's the exact same thing I get when go back to Calling for You. When Drake and 21 are trying to meet each other bar for bar, I appreciate Drake, and we talked about this in the sense that like, Drake is very adaptable and amenable as a pop star and a pop artist, and as a collaborator especially, which you really want, because you don't want to overbear on a record, you don't want to underbear on a record, you want to like bring your energy, but also allow your collaborators' energy to really be in that as well. And Drake has been really phenomenal at that, honestly, like truly, like full stop, right? But the thing with that is that you can't take Drake seriously when he's trying to match bar for bar with like Slaughter Gang shit, right? Like it's like hearing Ben Shapiro try to go bar for bar with Cardi B and Meg Thee Stallion on Wet Ass P Word, right? Like, is this just Ben? You're not made like that, all right? Benjamin, you are not made like that, okay? Like that's just not your thing. So it is. Audioface will slide right past that, and we will like. Let's go to Slime You Out featuring SZA. This was one of the songs where I believe Charlamagne the God was like, wow, Drake released a song with SZA, okay? Drake and SZA. Not names to sneeze at, although Sean had to excuse himself for a moment there, right? Like Drake and SZA are big names, okay?
And nobody cared.
We didn't even care. We didn't even care enough to mention that it was a song that we didn't care about because we knew Drake would be releasing an album with that song on it, all right? So there is something going on that's much bigger than this podcast. It's much bigger than Charlamagne or Joe Budden or whatever.
Maybe the world is tired of Drake.
I think so. I think it's sort of like hashtag no politics, to bring it back full circle to Audioface, but like, at this point in the political world on Power Report, check that out at all the places, it's my belief that people's opinions about Donald Trump or people's opinions of Joe Biden, conversely, are baked in, right? Like, you've already made your opinion.
Made your mind,
Nothing's really gonna change that. And so the same with Drake. Like, if you like Drake and if you're ride or die with Drake, then
if you're OVO wearing Drake fan, you're gonna like it.
If you're the person who was in the minivan that I saw just on my way back here that had a sticker with the OVO like prayer hands in the back, like if you have that like vinyl Dick Hall sticker thing, like I cannot convince you of anything. Like, thank you for watching this video to this point, at this point, like this very far. It's gonna do very well for my metrics, but like we can't convince you.
Booming.
We cannot convince you anything, all right? If you're that big of a Drake head. If you're not a Drake fan, this is going to be music to your ears, and you're probably not watching this because, like, we're telling you what you already believe. But, like, truly, I feel confident in this in saying, because we've been doing this podcast since 2017, and we've done a lot of Drake records since then. This is Drake at his... I'll be nice here again. This is Drake at his least ambitious I've seen him as his entire career.
Blandest.
Yes.
This is Drake at his blandest, like plain and simple. It's just a bland, boring record that is poorly executed, not very cohesive, does the shitty tropes and trends that we get this year of making 2 songs in one, which is very cheap to do. His features don't even sound that great on here, like Jermaine Cole. Yeet, SZA, right? Chief Keef, O Block's very own.
Only one, which is really sad. So there's 2 things that you've been. One thing you said a couple times, and one thing you said just recently that I want to point out. One thing you said a couple times was that, yeah, it does that thing where rap songs split up in the middle, and
that shit.
It's been really. It can be okay. It can be fine. I think it can be really good, but not the way a lot of rap artists are doing it because they don't have production chops. All right, like pretty much only Metro Boomin is allowed to do that because all y'all other producers, all y'all other rappers, y'all just literally cut 2 songs next to each other.
Cut the song.
And you call it straight. And I'm just like, no. You need to have a flow. You need to have at least the beats be on the same timing, yo. All right? Like, or if they're not on the same timing, make the slower beat make the slower beat like half the timing. Or make the faster beat double the timing than the slower beat. Like there's, in the words of Mos Def, there's mathematics to this, all right? And you don't have to be a nerd to like understand how music works, but like if you apply it to that mathematic structure, you will get a more pleasing sound. When you don't do that, when you think you're Drake and Drew Picasso, which is one of the names on here, it's not going to run like that. And so the second thing I was going to say, to your point of like, even the features, usually features save a record. Usually features save the blandest record. But 21 Savage phoned it in. J. Cole phoned it in. SZA on 2 songs. 2 songs, mind you, phoning it in. Sexy Red, like it's a cheap get right now. Sexy Red's like hot. It's like, oh, you couldn't get Ice Spice on your record, you get great value Ice Spice. That's Sexy Red, right? So you do that, totally fine. I will honestly say, and again, this is one of those moments where like I have grown so much as a person doing this podcast, but the best feature on this record was Lil Yachty by a country mile. I can't believe I'm saying that, but Lil Yachty actually brought bars and raps and style and flow. Yeah, and another late night. Bars, raps, style, and flow that not only did no other feature on here really bring, maybe save for Bad Bunny, but even Drake did not bring. Like, I forget which song it was, but I think it was 7969 Santa. Yeah, it was 7969 Santa because I sent this to you. And I was like, there's no lyrics in here, and like 10 people are credited for writing this song. And I'm just like, damn, Drake, you have to work real hard to be this mediocre, and somehow, you son of a bitch, you did it. And so yeah, I am stunned, truly, that like, yeah, there's some tracks on here that, you know, there's Drake, he's being sassy, he's got some lyrics here that are, you know, talking shit on Rihanna for some reason, talking shit on, like, whatever haters, mimicking styles of raps from other people, you got some cameos in here, like, it's a Drake production, alright? It just sucks. Like, it's just, I can't even say with confidence, like, again, I didn't like Her Loss, I didn't like Certified Lover Boy, I don't like a lot of Drake, but during all those reviews, you can go back and you can hear me say, okay, well, I'm pretty sure this track is going to be overplayed, or like this track is going to like get a lot of radio play a lot. I cannot tell you, and I feel really good about my musical ability to do this, having done this for a while. I can't tell you which of these songs will be a radio play hit. Of course they will be, because Drake released a new thing. And there's like numbers to some of these, so I'm sure like some of them are getting more action than others. But I can't tell you which song is a breakout hit. It's going to be surprising to me.
You and me both.
I'm sorry, I said a lot there. But like
it's just, I mean, but those things need to be said and stuff. People need to really understand that it's a very bloated, bland record. And there's a lot better music out there that should get priority over this. So for all the dogs is for all the duds.
For all the dog shit, yeah. Also, let's just focus on one last thing. an hour and 24 minutes long.
It's ridiculous.
It
does not need to be that long.
It's obscene.
Does not need to be that long.
It's obscene. Like, yeah, no. There's just no reason for it to be this long. And you don't get anything out of it. I usually
I don't want a Radiohead album to be that long. Let alone Drake.
Yeah, I usually do like it's this long and these songs are filler or these songs aren't. But again, I'm a little bit at a dumbfounding crossroads here because this is the first time on the Audioface podcast where, like, because it's Drake, I went through the full record. But I physically, as a person, subconsciously could not get through this entire record. Which, like, no. Fall Out Boy is different. We've done Fall Out Boy so you don't have to till the cows come home, all right? And I can tell with my chest that I hate that album. Drake is different. Drake, I can tell with my soul that I don't like this album, which makes it a nominee.
See, for me,
for one of the worst albums, etc. und so weiter. Scorched Earth, Nuke Hawaii,
yeah, Hawaii, no quid pro quo. Bleach ripped Skull Diamond. We gotta find another one. Rip Iron Dome, maybe. Who knows? Vax should be.
No. Hey, YouTube moderators who have dinged us before, vaccines are totally fine and they're totally okay, and it is not something that we are speaking against, given that YouTube's like completely made up machines have dinged the Audioface channel. We'd like fucking 300 subscribers. Like, we've been dinged a copyright strike because we called out a musician who was speaking into. So, like, let's be clear about that for the censors, etc. Let's not let this beautiful All the Dogs review go to waste. That being said, like, Vaxxed is a very good 2023.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
It's just anyone has like any major issue, it's just like Vaxxed. But no, yeah, this was again. I'll reiterate this one last time. Some albums I hate knowingly, like consciously. This is the first album I've done on this podcast where, without even thinking, I hated it. And when I caught myself subconsciously hating it, I tried it, and I hated it more because I tried. So, good job, Drake. You never cease to surprise me. And, in the words of my good friend Sean, stop fucking making music.
Just stop.
Stop.
The world doesn't need any more Drake.
Literally stop.
I better not get another October album next year, please.
This podcast has done so many things to me. Hands down, I would take another Taylor Swift record over a Drake record.
Oh, easy. That's not even a question.
Yeah, I wouldn't have said that to you in 2016 or 2017 or maybe even 2019. But, like, this is where we're at in the Audioface
It's 2020s, baby.
Dan hates gorillas, and he wants more Taylor Swift.
And less Drake.
Well, you know, on that one, unless Drake times change values don't. So, on that, we go to the arbitrary scale.
Oh, sweet baby
the
Jesus.
The arbitrary scale we do on every edition of Audioface and every single review, because we don't do a letter ranking system or a number ranking system. If we like an album or we don't like an album, we explain how we like or don't like that album from the entire fucking review we just did. So, this week we are doing surface-to-air missile defense systems. Why? No reason. None at all. Truly, I can't think of why on this weekend, the October 8th, that I would be thinking about surface-to-air missiles. I don't know, I think the Iron Dome's a popular one, but I don't know why that's on my mind right now. Anyways, this is gonna be my... Oh, hell yeah, baby. This is gonna be my Yugoslavian R-25 Vulcan.
Ooh. Ooh.
Designed by Serbian engineer. Go Nuggets. Obrad. Let me see how well I dated that. Vucerovic, yes. Obrad Vuchurovich designed the R-25 Vulcan surface-to-air missile defense system meant to intercept missiles as they are flying into some place or other. So, God bless. Can we see two Jokic on the board? Two for the Denver Nuggets. No, I'm just kidding. But yes.
No, this is definitely a KN-06 of the Korean People's Army Air Force, also known as North Korea's only surface-to-air missile. Does it work? Maybe, maybe not. Who knows? Is it as broken as the Iron Dome? I don't know. Just fly a kite over and see if you get shot down.
You better make that shit work, bitch. You say that every time a new SARS comes out. Oh
Jesus
my God.
Christ.
Give me a couple seconds because I am working through not having my Stream Deck, which is a horrifying fact that I'm going to change immediately after I'm done with this. But we're moving on to our next album. I am going to be, you see it by the side of me, but I'm going to take off those words and put on some new words so we can talk about it. But we're going to be talking about the new Sufjan Stevens record. Sufjan.
Yeah, Sufjan.
Yes. Javelin. I premiered that earlier than I was ready to because I'm.
You're just that ready.
I mean, I would be much more ready. You've seen me do this faster when I have my Stream Deck.
It's 10 songs, 42 minutes long. Javelin, Sufjan Stevens.
Sufjan Stevens barely needs an introduction, but it's to say that he's a very complex, a very I guess verbose in the musical sense kind of artist. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that as in he digs in, right? He did a whole series of concept records that were about the Midwest. There's Michigan, Illinois, all those other things. He did the BQE, which is about being on the major freeway in New York City, right? There's a whole bunch of stuff over here. We did his 2020 pandemic record.
Yeah, the Ascension.
And I remember very distinctly how I felt about that. It was good, but it was a lot, right? It was a lot.
It was a lot. It was long, and it was a lot.
It was an hour and 20
for
minutes, 15 songs long, rather. And you had a lot of long songs in there, especially near the end. You had some 8-minute songs. Some I think the last song was 11 or 12 minutes long. It was ridiculous. But I mean, if there's someone who's gonna do it, Sufjan Stevens has this great mix of indie, psychedelic, really good sounding, cohesive things when he's doing it. It's cohesive, but it's very dense, is the thing. And so we get you to Javelin, which is here and out right now. And it's in a lot of ways a little bit similar, in a lot of ways very pared back. Again, an hour and change long, an hour and a half long almost, to 42 minutes. This is much more reasonable.
Huge,
not only for 2023, but just for Sufjan Stevens. Major character growth here happening here, real great stuff. And you'll get some songs here that it's really weird. I definitely appreciated listening to this record, given listening to Drake earlier this week and the mental damage that did to me. But overall, I felt really positive about it. I'm still in the mixed about it because my brain got jumbled by the Drake thing, but yeah.
I mean, so it feels a very much a Neil Young inspired record without Neil Young's god awful vocals, but amazing songwriting skills.
Neil Young's god awful vocals. I thought of Noel Gallagher's High Flying Birds. It was the right number of syllables for my brain to go oh,
beautiful.
Anyways.
Yeah, and you actually get a little thing where he actually at the very end of the record, the last song where it's a little thing of an actual Neil Young song, which I thought was pretty cool. But with Javelin, you get I feel it's best of Sufjan Stevens, where it's really pulling back to some of his early work and stuff of his early singer-songwriter days, and then even back to the 2020 record of really dense work, but stripping it back, making it more like mid 70s inspired Americana, which is a genre that I really like. You know, you have your Neil Youngs, you have your Carole Kings, and so on and so forth, and make some damn good music. And I feel like there's some artists who try to do that and don't sound right, and there's some artists who do it and sound amazing. So, with Sufjan Stevens, I feel like this is like a very, very good record in that way. Especially compare and like some of the earlier stuff that he's done. It's like I feel like it's a really good step in the right direction from his 2020 record, because that was just so dense and it was a bit much, where I was like, is he starting to kind of like lose his touch? And with Javelin, it's not that. So first couple tracks, the opening track, Goodbye Evergreen, I feel like it's a really good opening track where you get kind of like, you start off a little bit stripped back, and then it just builds to this really beautiful crescendo in the middle of it with a lot of different sounds into it. But it's a great opening track. You ever want to start? Will anybody ever love me? And you get, with those tracks, you really get to the singer-songwriter stuff that Sufjan Stevens is fantastic for. But it's stripped back enough to like separate him from some of his more recent work, but it's still dense enough to show how much he's improved as a singer-songwriter throughout the years. And I feel like with Javelin, this is one of his best works, I think, even he's ever made, possibly.
Yeah, it would definitely be my intro to Sufjan Stevens for, like, I feel like every music head is very well acquainted with Sufjan Stevens, so it's like very weird. But like, if I'm just trying to put you down the rabbit hole of like good music, I mean, there's a lot of other places I might personally go, but this would be, because Sufjan Stevens is such like a musical meme and also like a rabbit hole on his own. Even his old albums, as we've been kind of alluding to, can be rabbit holes in themselves. There's so much depth that's really hard to do it in like a, hey, Dan and Sean, review this album that just came out with a lot of depth and complexity like 2 days after it came out. Like, it's really hard to do that kind of task. So
it's gonna take us a while.
Like, and I mean this to say, yeah, I shit on other reviewers all the time, but I mean, like, it's a limit to reviewing these kinds of things, is that you can't, especially a record like this dense, you can't really get to, or like a record as dense as previous Sufjan Stevens records, you couldn't really get to it all. This one, I think, is a lot easier and a lot more approachable. And I think it's, as an album, I'll be honest, I don't think any Sufjan Stevens album does it for me in the sense of, like, I walk away from it like, oh, this was a well-constructed album. Like, it's good sounds, but it's very dense. And, like, for, like, an album listener like we do on this podcast, it's not, like, quite right there. But this feels like there's organization, there's order, there's like stuff that makes sense. Mm-hmm. You have a certain vibe of songs in the first like 4, and then right after Genuflecting Ghosts is like a really good middle track, and then afterwards you get to things that are like still upbeat, but like a little bit softer, a little bit more, like slightly more acoustic sounding, I guess I could say. And because of that spacing, because of that thoughtfulness, you get a really solid, like 42-minute thing overall.
Yeah. I'm really happy with it. And, you know, like Mitski's record earlier this year, Slow Dive, you're getting some very good indie records out this year that, you know, a bit more stripped back, and some more senior artists who show you that, hey, like, they still got it. They can still write damn good music. And, for Sufjan Stevens, I think it's a really, really good effort, and I think it's a good record. It's going to take me several listens to really be able to dissect everything with it, but, you know, so is with most records I listen to. Yeah. So not very much the opposite of Drake.
I particularly liked the end. I thought Shit Talk especially was like a really, I mean, like, it's an 8-minute one. Like, it's you're really going into being like really confident with that, but it was really solid, like, track overall. And I think because Javelin is, especially in Sufjan Stevens land, like, it's a minute and 52, which, like, for most artists, some artists can stretch that out into being like an entire song, but for most artists, that's like an interlude at best. And here, it's basically an interlude. But Shit Talk, which follows right after that, which, like, feels like the crescendo moment for the song, for the album, rather, especially being the penultimate song on the album, it really hits. It does a good job of what it's trying to be and what it has to do given its placement in the record, but also, like, the name of the song is kind of edgy. It's got to deliver something if you're going to call it Shit Talk like that. And I think it does a good job of showing Sufjan Stevens' lyricism, his ability to be a little bit brash and edgy in some of his lyrics, while also being, sort of transcendental and softly psychedelic in his way. I don't want to call it like psychedelic because, like, even Tame Impala is like not fully psychedelic if you want to fully go into that purity test, right? But so it's not that, but it's invoking a lot of those inspirations, absolutely. And it accomplishes, like, it's Shit Talk and There's a World, and just the latter part of the record in general sticks the landing really well. And so, yeah, very big contrast from Drake.
Absolutely.
So, arbitrary scale. We do arbitrary scales every week on Audioface because our review is our review. We told you how we felt about it. We told you how we heard it. And rather than bastardize that review by a letter ranking system or a number ranking system, we're going to tell you how we felt using an arbitrary scale that we change every single week. This week it is going to surface to air missiles for absolutely no. This one is going to be what you got here, Sean? What you got here?
I'm gonna do. I think I'm gonna give this a solid Bristol Bloodhound from His Majesty's United Kingdom now, because his story, not her story no more.
the Bristol Bloodhound, you said?
Yeah, Bristol Bloodhound Mark 1. Let's go.
That shit is like guaranteed to U-turn and hit like some random airfield in like outside of Bristol or like Birmingham or like.
It's definitely heading in Birmingham, like absolutely in the slums of Birmingham, like for sure.
Yeah, it's gonna hit some like abandoned football field in like
or Wales,
West Bucktoothingham for sure. Like it's gonna be rough. This is gonna be my Syad 4B. This is the 300-kilometer version of the Syad 4 missile. It is a solid fuel surface-to-air missile manufactured by Iran. And I don't know what to say about that other than from the river to the sea. This has been Audioface. What does it mean to play us out? You can find everything we're doing.
Pre-1957.
You can do it from what armistice? You can find us wherever you get podcasts. I did not mean to do my. There we go. No, that's wrong. This is what happens when I do it on my stream deck. Okay, you can find us on any podcast platform. I found out Google Podcasts is being rolled into YouTube Music, much like iTunes was Apple, whatever. Just go to audioface.show, and regardless of what these random tech companies do to their platforms, you can keep track of us. YouTube hasn't been a platform that has changed all that much, but it's Google, so you never know. So you can check us out at youtube.com/audiofacepod, youtube.com/audiofacepod for all of our reviews and things of that nature. Support us at join.syndicate23.co. But if these are a lot of URLs that I'm throwing at you, I get it. I understand it. It's fine. Audioface.show. Audioface.show. .show is a .com thing you can type in. Go to audioface.show. You'll get all the links right there, and it'll all be good. Sean can find you in these friendly skies. I can find you locked, stocked, and loaded. Fuck around and find out if you find me. And this has been Audioface. We'll join you again in the next episode as we go through this very busy fall of music. And until then, cheers.
Bye.
Old.